Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, big things happening in Logansport. Allegion Ventures continues its growth. Inside the Indiana Latino Institute's Leadership Circle, a new name and look for the Indiana Blood Center. A new initiative aims to keep grads in Indy. A popular horse racing event is celebrating 25 years. And a special insiders panel talks filling the tech talent gap. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Alex Brown. The Cass County city of Logansport has generated significant momentum from being ranked number 1 as the most affordable small town in America where you'd actually want to live by Realtor.com to being rated as the second most walkable city in Indiana and its largest employer, Tyson Foods, now having more than 2,000 employees. Mayor Dave Kitchell joined Gary Dick in studio to talk about the momentum.
A number of things going on in your city and in the region as well, but you've got a bit of breaking news off the top here as another announcement in terms of the Logansport Mall that has really been challenged. You got one big tenant there, but not a lot else, but some that may be changing.
Well, we are proud to announce today that we have an agreement with one nationally known retailer for the Logansport Mall. We have a developer from Chicago who is having discussions now with hotels and some fast casual dining establishments, and we hope to have other retailers soon. But we're ready to start flipping the mall, and this has been a challenge for us, as it has been for many Indiana cities.
A lot of Indiana communities. As you look at momentum, and I mentioned Tyson Foods with over 2,000 employees now and a big jump in payroll there. You're building housing as well, some quality of life improvement. What, in your view, because many smaller communities are struggling around the state, around the country, what's driving momentum in Logansport?
I think that developers are now going beyond the limits of urban centers, and they're trying to find markets that have been ignored for a long time. We're seeing 50% increases in construction for the first 5 months of this year, and a lot of that is coming from outside of Logansport and Cass County. Developers from Indianapolis, Evansville, Fort Wayne, they're taking a look at us, and particularly with housing, because housing starts are up. Every Indiana city needs housing right now, and the age of our housing stock beckons new housing initiatives for middle and income housing, higher income housing, and some low income housing.
Yeah, in terms of quality of life measures, healthcare very important. Certainly a new cancer center there in Logansport, the hospital among the top 20 rural hospitals in the country, and education, a big focus on education. I thought it was interesting that schools have Spanish immersion in the elementary school and Mandarin Chinese in high school.
And Logansport is an A-rated high school, and we strive to get students with advanced placement credits when they leave to prepare them to go through the workforce and to get them into the employment sector as fast as we can.
Yeah. As you look at the region, and certainly the state and others are looking at economic development from a regional perspective now, the Wabash Heartland Innovation Network, WIN, Cass County part of that, and of course Logansport, seeking to become, quote unquote, kind of that Silicon Valley of the Midwest, big focus on advanced manufacturing. And your city, your county is the second most intense advanced manufacturing county in the region.
Companies like Small Parts, HTI, CalComp, anything that's involving Tyson and the aftermarket of Tyson, Logan Stampings, these are all advanced technology manufacturers along with Myers-Spring. So we're lucky to have that spring sector there. Matthew Warren is a major spring manufacturer that manufactures springs for the Indianapolis 500 car. So we've got that skill set there, but we need to replace the tool and die makers and some of those people with the skills that are not necessarily college degree skills, but are technical skills going forward.
Can this WIN network, another region funded in large part, a big $40+ million grant from Lilly Endowment, which is really incredible. But can it make a difference when you're talking about talent and population? You want to increase that population. How's that going to make a difference?
I think the branding of it is the significant thing, because you say Purdue University, people know where that is. They may not know where Lafayette is. But when you start saying the Wabash Heartland Innovation Network, it's like saying the Silicon Valley. There is no Silicon Valley zip code in California. It's a place, it's a concept, it's an identity, and we hope to get that kind of identity for our manufacturers, our agribusiness people, and especially for employment people.
I also mentioned this before we wrap up, quality of life trails. And it looks like Logansport and Cass County, they're going to kind of be a hub for a trail system.
Well, our goal is to be the nexus of trail systems in northern Indiana. The Cardinal Trail System, obviously the Nickel Plate coming up along US 31, the Panhandle Pathway from US 35 and Knox South, and now the trail from Lafayette north to Logansport through Delphi. This gives us a destination trail city, and we think it just embellishes the quality of life.
Lots happening in Cass County, in particular in Logansport. Mayor Dave Kitchell, appreciate you coming on. We'll talk to you soon.
Great to see you.
All right.
Still to come, the Indiana Latino Institute welcomes its inaugural Leadership Circle and a new name for the Indiana Blood Center. But first, Allegion Ventures has added more innovative companies to its investment portfolio. Boston-based HQO, Robin Powered Inc., and Pindrop. President Rob Martins joined the show to give details on the new additions and tech trends and opportunities he is seeing in Indiana and beyond.
I should mention, Allegion Ventures is the venture capital arm of Allegion PLC, a multi-billion-dollar global security company, which actually has roots connecting back to the Ingersoll Rand days here in Indianapolis.
Yep, absolutely. We've been manufacturing in the Indy area for over 100 years, so in our Von Duprin business.
Let's talk about Allegion Ventures. 2 years old, I think, roughly?
Yeah, March 2018.
Okay.
Yep.
The idea, $50 million fund, you launched it with a pretty ambitious idea to go out there and really seek out some innovative companies.
Yeah, a fund founded by our CEO, chairman, and president, Dave Petratus, a real focus on discovery, maybe a little bit different than your typical corporate venture fund. Really about connecting our employees with entrepreneurs and believing that if we find the right connection, that's going to turn out to be a great financial relationship.
As I mentioned in the intro, you recently added three funds to your investment portfolio.
Yes, we actually added three. One based out of Georgia called Pindrop, which is a voice authentication solution where they can focus in on providing a little bit better customer experience, if you will. So instead of talking to your voice assistant to open the door and having it ask you for a PIN number, it can identify who you are. This has historically been used in contact centers and things like that, but we found a way to bring that over into the security space.
These three firms you're investing in, kind of adding to what we were talking off camera, you said this pipeline, the investment pipeline is pretty robust.
Very robust. We see an incredible amount of innovation in this IoT space. Lots of digital and physical convergence, which creates tons of opportunities in the market.
In terms of, or in addition to your role as president of Allegion Ventures, you're also a futurist for the parent company, if you will. You talk about IoT. I know you see that in Indiana as really something with phenomenal potential.
Absolutely. I think the Internet of Things, or IoT, or sometimes you might even hear industrial IoT, is right in the sweet spot for a state like Indiana. We have people who really understand how to build physical things, and they build them well. When we start to merge software, digital technology and hard tech, sometimes the water gets a little frothy, but with the help of companies and partners, people like High Alpha that are introducing software into the community, entities like TechPoint, we start to see a convergence of people who understand not only the app side of software, but the brains, the firmware, the embedded software that allows those two things, the app and the hardware, to work together seamlessly. Yeah. And in our case, that delivers what we consider to be a more seamless access experience.
Rob Martins is a futurist at Allegion, also the president of Allegion Ventures. And Rob, as always, welcome to the program and congrats on the investments. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Later in the podcast, the Indiana Blood Center is joining a larger network, and a new service and community day aims to keep graduates in Indianapolis. But now, the Indiana Latino Institute is an organization committed to serving Latino communities throughout the state. The Institute has welcomed the inaugural class of its Leadership Circle, a 3-year multi-pronged approach to bring young, talented Latinos front and center. Class moderator and emeritus board member Charlie Garcia and Leadership Circle participant Eduardo Garcia joined Gary Dick to talk about the program.
Charlie, I'll start with you. The Indiana Latino Leadership Circle. Talk about how this was formed, because it was loosely kind of around, and you've really put some organization, some structure around this whole process.
Yeah, we found we did some due diligence, a few leaders in town, and we talked about how do we formalize building leaders as opposed to an organic approach. And so through many years, probably about 3 years of development, and we brought it under the Indiana Latino Institute, we developed a program that was very precise, systematic, had metrics attached to it, and framed with high-quality individuals, very progressive individuals in their institutions, in their corporations that had a trajectory that was moving quickly. So we captured what we believe is the cream of the crop.
Yeah, and just a 50,000-foot view, because some of the focus areas, mentorship, empowerment opportunities, leadership training, civic engagement, all part of what is a pretty comprehensive program.
Correct. Yeah. What we focus on, and actually the participants came up with this tagline, we are future community leaders that happen to be Latino. So really focusing on specific projects to help Indianapolis and Central Indiana grow.
Yeah. Eduardo, you are a member of that first class, that inaugural class of 9. You're a marketing, strategy, and operations executive at Eli Lilly and Company, and you're already in the program. Give us some feedback. What are you thinking about what you've learned so far?
It's been a tremendous experience. We meet once a month and a full day session, and we have guest speakers that come in from various sectors, from government sectors, local, state, private sector, as well as nonprofit, et cetera. And you just talk to us about their experience, what their trajectories have been like to get to where they are as leaders, and some of the things that they've learned along the way, some of the challenges that they've had along the way. And for me personally, those are stories that are invaluable. That'll just make me a better leader going forward. Just learning from them and understanding what some of those challenges might be as I move forward throughout my career.
The Latino Leadership Circle, what does that say about Indianapolis in your view? We talk a lot about talent. How do we get more talent here, attract it, and keep it here? Does it make a statement about Indianapolis you think that's positive to folks from outside looking in?
I think it's a tremendous beacon for recent graduates or even mid-career professionals that are looking at Indianapolis as a potential place to be. It says that the community is embracing Latinos and really is looking for their input to move this city forward. So I think it's a definite strength for us as a recruiting community to have have this as part of our offerings.
And Charlie, the growth of the Latino community is off the charts. If you look in Marion and surrounding counties, it's on an upward trajectory. So it would seem that the timing of this leadership circle is probably pretty good.
It's perfect. If you look at the compounding rate, it's running around 3 to 4%. And so we've grown, when I arrived in 1988, about 1.5%. And now we're approaching 13, 14, 15% and growing. So it's a perfect time to identify that young talent and to provide them with the culture of Hoosier culture, which is welcome.
Exciting developments. The Indiana Latino Leadership Circle First Class has launched with 9 members. 3-year program, lots more on the way. Charlie Garcia, Eduardo Garcia as well. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to following the progress of the program.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Still to come, Indy Fluence is targeting graduates to consider staying in Indianapolis, and the Indiana Derby is celebrating 25 years. But first, the Indiana Blood Center is now Versity Blood Center of Indiana. Based in Milwaukee, Versity is bringing 4 other Midwest states under its brand in addition to Indiana. Now the 5th largest blood provider in the U.S., Versity says it will better serve Hoosier patients and the 50 hospitals throughout the state that it supplies blood to. CEO Chris Miskell joins Kylie Valletta on the business of health.
So it's important to note Versity is a nonprofit, just as the Indiana Blood Center was. The Versity name is new to people in Indiana, so tell us just a little bit about your mission.
Sure. Well, as a nonprofit organization, first and foremost, we're here for the community and for the patients and our healthcare partners that need us to have a sustainable blood supply. So we're focused on that. We talk about blood health innovation, but beyond a stable blood supply, we also do lots of things in science and medicine. And so we like to say that we're focused on all things blood, whether that's research, clinical care, or very complicated specialized diagnostic testing. We're the place to go as it relates to issues with blood.
And one benefit of Indiana joining this bigger organization is sort of this shared strength in treating patients with rare or uncommon needs. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So imagine a patient that has sickle cell disease and has a very particular need. And in some cases, they may have antigens to blood types that you would otherwise think would be a match. Versity is invested in genotyping across our 5 states, and so when our donors come in, we genotype them and we have a database that makes it more likely that we can find a need for a very specialized patient that may be suffering from a particular disease.
And you touched on this just a little bit, but Versity really has a strong background and strength in science and medicine.
That's right. So we, couple things. One, we do research out of Milwaukee that from a funding standpoint, we're the #1 funded blood research institution in the United States. And we have roughly 30 NIH funded investigators that are investigating all things blood. And so we take a lot of pride in that, and the connection between research and our folks that provide clinical care really allows us to develop answers for patients. In Milwaukee, we also have a hemophilia treatment center, as well as a sickle cell clinic. And so the clinical care really adds to how we can educate those clinicians that are caring for patients around the world.
And you said there's sometimes a misperception that people think you only need blood during times of tragedy, but you need it all the time. And you said it's even getting harder to collect.
The need is constant, and so tragedies tend to bring people out to collect, but the blood on the shelves is what ultimately saves lives every day. In Indiana, we need to collect over 500 units a day to provide for the hospitals that we serve. And I would say that our donor base has been very loyal, but has aged somewhat, and so we're always looking for new and creative ways to bring young donors in their 20s, 30s, and 40s into our mission.
And just a very few seconds left, but if people go out, it's going to look just a little bit different, right?
Right.
Just with the new name on it.
That's right. So it'll be Versity Blood Center of Indiana. We did that to create a unified brand across our 5 states because we want the folks that we work with to understand the power of all the things we bring to the table. But it's the same local mission and care for our communities.
Very good, Chris. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Later in the podcast, a popular horse racing event celebrates a milestone, and a special panel of insiders discusses efforts to fill the tech talent gap in Indiana. But now, some of Indianapolis's top companies are collaborating on a first-of-its-kind Service and Community Day in an effort to encourage more college students to choose Indianapolis after they graduate. The inaugural Indyfluence is focused on keeping talent in-state by collectively working together to showcase the unique community-focused opportunities available to talent launching their careers in Indiana. In our Eye on Education segment, Catalytic Talent CEO Liz Holden and One America Senior VP Karen Sarad talked about the program's goals.
Very interesting event and interesting idea. Everybody's talking about how do you keep talent, how do you attract talent here. How did Indyfluence come about? I know there was a talent summit. It was kind of an outgrowth of that talent summit a couple of years ago.
Yes. A couple years ago, a number of us HR leaders in the area got together, and we were talking about the fact that in other cities, there's events, and they're usually big concerts, and they get everybody together for a moment. We said we could do better, and we thought we could do something that would be a lot more community-focused, and that was the inception of Indyfluence. We decided to
give us the thumbnail description, because it's a huge event for interns, more than 400 interns, and they'll be out in the community doing 10 different service projects.
Yes, they'll be working on service projects everywhere from painting a mural on an underpass, so there'll be something that'll be tangible, to creating blessing boxes, to working with gleaners, to working with different schools in the areas.
Karen, what is it about the service, the community-focused aspect of Indyfluence that you think is particularly attractive to young professionals?
Sure. What we often hear as employers, especially this generation, they're looking for a sense of connection, and the fact that we have this experience tied to community, it's giving back. It really gives them a chance to be connected, not just to the other interns that they're going to meet, but the community, the local employers. It has really good sticking power if we can attract that type of talent.
One America is one of a number of high-profile companies, Roche Diagnostics, Lilly, the Heritage Group, IU Health, Indy Chamber, and other organizations involved. Why get involved from One America's standpoint, the importance of being a part of this event?
Sure. Really, for any employer, we're always looking for ways to be innovative in how we attract and retain talent. So to be a part of this inaugural event, it's going to be phenomenal. We also think about ways that when we are looking to connect the interns, we want them to have that connection and say to their friends, I'm going to stay in Indianapolis, or I'm going to stay in the state. I don't want to go someplace else to be employed.
Yeah, should mention a number of young companies like Springbuck involved in the initiative too. Liz, as you look at how this is first event coming up July 18, but how this has kind of taken off the traction that it's gotten so far.
It's been overwhelming. We have a number of other employers in the area and even community groups who have reached out and said they want to be part of this. So while this is the inaugural first of its kind event, we expect more in the future.
Okay, give us the thumb. It's July 18 here in Indianapolis, and folks, whether you're participating or want to in the future, there's a way to stay connected.
Most definitely. They can stay connected through indyfluence.com, and we hope that you do and that you make it something special for all of us. And thank you.
Very good. It'll be a big event, July 18 in Indianapolis. 400 plus interns to be part of Indyfluence. Liz Holden from Catalytic Talent, Karen Surratt from One America. Thank you both very much.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Still to come, a special panel of insiders looks at filling the tech talent gap. But first, it's been billed as Indiana's biggest summer sporting event. And this week's Inside Indiana Sports, Bill Benner talks with Rachel McLaughlin, track analyst and host at Indiana Grand Racing and Casino, about the 25th Indiana Derby at the Shelbyville Racecourse.
That's kind of hard to believe that it's 25 years old already, but a signature thoroughbred event in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, it's the only thoroughbred racing in the state that we have. So we have the only thoroughbred and quarter horse racing, and this is our biggest night of the entire year. A lot of money on the line and a lot of big names. $500,000 added, grade 3, and hopefully we'll get a good turnout this year.
Yeah, a mile on the 16th, and again, this is for the horse people in Indiana, the thoroughbred people in Indiana. This is the event that they shoot for every year.
Yes, exactly, and we get a lot of big names coming in. Some, Hall of Famers. We've had Dwayne Lucas come before, Bob Baffer, who a lot of people follow the Triple Crown. Even if you're not a big horse racing fan, Bob Baffert's won 2 Triple Crowns, and he's had horses in. He's won the Derby 4 years. So, it's a pretty big race, especially for the connections and for all of our Indiana horse racing family. We're very proud of this race, so it's a big event.
Jeff Saturday, the former Indianapolis Colt world champion and Pro Bowler, will be the honorary host for the day.
He will be our honorary chairperson, and he will be doing a meet and greet at the track. So if anybody wants to come out, you could meet him. And I'm super excited because I get to interview him, obviously. So big Colts fan. That's going to be exciting. But and we've gotten a lot of big names. Bob Knight's been our chairperson in the past, and David Koechner from the Anchorman movie. So a little bit of all over the board.
So going to have probably 11 races. This will be the 10th race. But what else goes on on Saturday, July 13th?
Yes, well, we have the Indiana Oaks, so that's for the ladies, and that's also a grade 3. It'll be race 9 a little after 9 o'clock, and then the Indiana Derby goes off a little after 10. We are going to have T-shirts to give away to the first 2,500 guests that come in the door. That starts at 3 p.m., and the first post is at 5:30. Normally it's 6:15. We've moved it up a little bit for the big evening, the big event. So doors open then, and we're going to have all kinds of fun giveaways. $2,500 mega bets you can place on the Derby. So come out. It's going to be a good time.
And you anticipate that this may be the largest crowd ever.
I am going to go ahead and stake my name on it, because we've definitely passed set some bars here, and we were just talking, you can't even walk through. So I'm hoping that this year we'll get up there and set the bar pretty high.
And interestingly, you also said before we went on the air that a lot of non-thoroughbred racing fans will come to the Indiana Derby. This is their one night of the year.
Yes. A lot of people who maybe don't follow it all the time will make a point to go out for the biggest event of it's our Kentucky Derby. It's the Indiana Derby in our state. This is our Derby, so it's a big event, and a lot of people like to get dressed up in hats and head out to the track.
Well, Racing Rachel McLaughlin, she is the track analyst and the host, and a big day coming up July 13th at Indiana Grand. We wish you the best. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much.
And finally, our insiders give perspective on Indiana's top business stories. This week, a special panel featuring TechPoint Senior Director of Relationship Management Lauren Peterson, Kate Maxwell with Raytheon in Indianapolis, and Mike Rutz, Executive Vice President at Indy-based TMAP, talk about filling the tech talent pipeline.
Lauren, TechPoint is really engaged in this whole fight for talent, because it is such a big issue in all industries, in particular technology. Talk about this latest talent hunting initiative and what's it's all about, because it really is unique.
Yes, and you've teed it up nicely, Gary. Yeah. We recognize that finding exceptional talent is really key to growing and scaling any great business. Mm-hmm. And we know that right now Indiana's at a unique pivot point, right? Our tech community is gaining a lot of momentum. And why we think this initiative is so important is that tech employers have truly expressed the need to attract out-of-market talent that have specific skills and experiences as their organizations grow. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure each of us on the panel have heard from Indy residents that when people come to our city, they love it. Yeah. But we have to get them here first. And in fact, what's even more promising is that a recent CompTIA survey indicates that 78% of the tech workforce would be willing to move markets for that dream job opportunity, but that the two biggest indicators are affordability and cost of living. So we at TechPoint are firm believers that Indiana really wins in that scenario because we have that great intersection of great job opportunities and affordability.
Is the key getting people here?
Absolutely.
I mean, is that once they get here, I hear that all the time, whether it's a convention or individual talent, once they get here, they love it here.
Absolutely. And articulating that tech density, I think that that's truly important as well. So it's articulating the Indy advantage as a tech ecosystem and getting them here to feel that experience in person.
Yeah, I want to talk specifics about this Wish You Were Here campaign. But Mike, TMAP is a partner in this. First of all, give us the thumbnail description of TMAP.
Sure. In a nutshell, we use data and targeted marketing to identify and target individuals and build pools of talent for companies to draw from.
Yeah. Why partner on this talent initiative?
Well, it's a no-brainer. I mean, TechPoint, obviously, they have a huge network of companies and people around the state. We've actually been, trying to build our network of companies, but this was sort of a way to short-circuit that process. So when we go out and we identify target pools and we engage with them, we need a clearinghouse of companies to absorb them. TechPoint already has that clearinghouse, and so we're using this event to do that.
Give us your take on talent from TMAP's standpoint. Growing company, how do you sense or assess the talent landscape in Indiana?
It's tough. I mean, if the state is facing a crisis, I think. I mean, by 2023, 2024, we're going to have a contracting talent pool for the first time in the history of the state. No one realizes that. So if you think about the fact that we've never even experienced that dynamic as a state, and we're doing it with such high demand and trying to grow the way we're trying to grow, it's going to make things more difficult than people know.
Yeah. Kate, Raytheon is one of the 5 pillar companies involved with this talent initiative. Cummins, Lilly, Geico, Salesforce, some big name companies. Raytheon, a big company. Why not just do this on your own? I mean, what is the importance, in your view, of the collaboration for this talent?
It's a great question. I will tell you, I think the talent shortage that we're facing in technology in particular, while we're feeling it in Indiana, it's certainly not unique to the state. It's a national shortage of tech talent. So I think we have to be innovative and thoughtful in the way that we approach this problem. And we've decided to partner with TechPoint and TMAP and these other companies because, frankly, we all benefit by growing the tech ecosystem here, getting the word out about the opportunity in the area, and then building that deep and diverse talent pipeline. That's going to be good for all of us. So we're happy to be a player in this space.
And you're a transplant as well, right?
Yes, I am.
Relatively new. How long have you been in
6
Indiana?
months, yeah.
6 months
so
from Pennsylvania.
You got it. I've been with Raytheon 15 years and decided that Indiana was the land of opportunity.
I like that. That's a good tagline. Did anything surprise you about the move here? What was your expectation?
Well, we had done quite a bit of research prior to moving here. You know, Raytheon's a global company, so we looked at all of the options in front of us, and a lot of the research and the information that TechPoint in particular was putting out really is what sold us. You know, the value proposition here is exactly what Lauren stated. It's a low cost of living. You don't have to sacrifice that work-life balance to have the opportunity to work in high tech here in Indiana, and that was really appealing to us. So I think it was a great move, you know, for my career, for my husband's career, and for our family.
Yeah. Lauren, talk about some of the specifics with this initiative, because there are unique aspects to it. really red carpet treatment, if you will, for 25 individuals. Talk about that.
Well, where we're at right now in the process, we're shooting backwards from a July 15th application deadline. So for those viewers right now that want to help us spread the message, we've made it simple for them to do so in two ways. First, sharing on their networks, whether that's on social media, whether that's on LinkedIn, email, text, phone, taking out a billboard, whatever it's going to take to reach the masses. And secondly, thinking about those individuals that are friends, families, former coworkers that have moved out of state that might not yet know their dream job in tech exists here in Indiana, and having that conversation with them. All it could take is that one conversation to spark that idea. And then again, for those viewers that are listening or watching from out of state right now that are thinking, perhaps like Kate, what an opportunity could look like in Indiana in our tech ecosystem, we do encourage them to apply. We absolutely want them here, and we'll be successful if we're able to reach a large mass, both in-state and out-of-state, for those applications.
What's the goal on the visit?
I would say one thing that's unique about this is the fact that this is actually a community exercise. So we're recruiting as a community, which is a major differentiator. I mean, the recruiting market today, the marketplace is totally inefficient. It typically starts with one role and one company, and they may talk to hundreds of people and only get one across the finish line. Meanwhile, they've uncovered 10, 20, 30 people who are super talented and want to come and live in Indiana or are willing to come and live in Indiana. But the conversation ends when that company has filled that role. With this, we can not only just present them to multiple companies, but we can also keep them engaged and communicate with them after the fact and have them there when companies need to reach into that bench.
What's been the reaction so far? I know, reading some of the background, there was a couple in San Diego who, a great example of some of the feedback, some of who you're hearing from.
So there's a couple in San Diego. The husband is from Chicago. The wife is from Indianapolis. They think the cost of living is absolutely outrageous out there. They realize that the path they're on is not sustainable. They want to have children, and so they're contemplating a move back to the Midwest. The interesting part about it is that the husband doesn't think there's enough tech action here for him to move back. When we talked to him, he didn't realize what we had in the scene we had and how much growth we had in the tech sector. So I think they feel like a good prospect for us, and they might be a winner because we're telling them something they didn't know.
Yeah. Was that one of the issues? I know you were at Raytheon looking to transfer here, but kind of that tech ecosystem, the clustering of companies and technology companies, and if so, how do you think Indianapolis stacks up? 20 years ago, it really didn't exist. I remember, but I think it's beginning. It seems to be changing.
It's pretty impressive. It's a dynamic place. I mean, you can work for a big company in tech, or you can work for a startup and a venture capital firm. I mean, really, this city offers so much in terms of the diversity of tech opportunity, and I think for me, that was certainly the most appealing part, yes.
Again, Raytheon, a very large company that really is, in a sense, kind of reinventing itself on the east side.
That's right.
And so you're in a hiring mode looking for specific talent.
You got it, yeah. We're hiring lots of engineering talent. We're hiring cyber. We're hiring data analysts, artificial intelligence, machine learning. I mean, it truly runs the gamut.
Yeah. Lauren, as you look at this effort is part of a broader effort that TechPoint really continues to be engaged in when it comes to talent. Talk a little bit about that and the importance, because, as Mike mentioned, as you look out to the future and that projected gap, that shortage, very critical.
Absolutely, and we know that at any given time what companies are hiring for and in what quantities, to Kate's point, but we also recognize that changes day by day and week by week. If you look at the TechPoint job board right now, there are 165 jobs available, and that number continues to increase each and every day. So what we do see this as is a driving force that will be the start of a movement as we truly get after talent hunting more aggressively than ever. And what's promising to us at TechPoint is, as Mike alluded to, what we do well as a state is truly collaborate. So we see this as a spark to that movement, and it's going to start with activating the state and then hopefully the broader country. And I do want to mention that for individuals that are wanting to help us promote, viewers that are watching that are from out of state, they can learn more about all of those opportunities, the experience, and the initiative itself by going to techpoint.org/here.
Yeah, and Mike, you touched on this earlier, this community nature of the initiative. Talk a little bit more about that, because the collaboration corporate-wise, but also the state of Indiana. I know a number of organizations under the umbrella of the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, I know, are supportive of these initiatives.
Absolutely, and I think that they're looking for new ways to actually find and locate talent. It's, having someone sit at a computer and mine LinkedIn isn't going to do it. It's not going to solve the problem. We need a more comprehensive solution that will help us to pre-qualify people and help us understand before we even reach out to them, are they even interested in the state? Do they have ties to the state? Would they be willing to come live and work here? And if we can actually define that, it can drive some efficiency into the process, and we can invest more intelligently.
Lauren, I'll give you the final word. Any for viewers either watching in-state or online around the globe, what they should do to engage in this talent initiative?
Yes, I would encourage, given the 4th of July weekend is upon us and you may be at home right now with friends and family, think into the network and truly help us activate. I'm sure that they could think of 1 or 2 individuals within their network to encourage them to think about what a career in tech could look like. And I do want to reiterate that we're so grateful for the support of our partners like TMAP and our pillar employer sponsors like Raytheon for truly helping to make this a collaborative effort.
Major initiative, major issue for the state of Indiana, the hunt for talent. It's been a great insiders panel, one and all. Lauren Peterson, also Mike Rutz, and Kate Maxwell. Thank you very much.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments as well as the top business news from throughout the state at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business.